Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back. On this episode, this episode, we have Captain Obvious from Clan Hive. He's in his M4A3E2, the Jumbo Sherman with the great front armor at tier 6. And he's top tier in a 357. This is a great setup for him. He's running the, 76mm gun, I believe it is, not the dirt. And he's going to go ahead and come down here, show you what he's doing with his camera. Down to this south side, which I agree with, and he's going to do this aggressively, which I also agree with. Other than the 01, there's very little here that's going to have a lot of luck penetrating the front of this tank. So we get a little guy kind of poking around there. He takes a shot. He's not really hidden in the bush. Type 34 is doing some spotting down there, and you can see the bounces are beginning. Decent crowd up north for his team, for Captain's team. We got a Leopard there, and he's going to start working forward here, looking for shots. I would have pretty much ignored that M8A1 and went around and looked for this right here. Get these shots a little bit earlier than you did. So one of the questions Captain asked is, all right, this ends up being a loss. What could I have done? Well, it's all these little things like that. Killing things faster, being a little bit more aggressive. When that little guy, that little M, whatever that thing is there, was poking out, it was really not a concern. Go find something more important and start shooting at him. You had the T-34 helping you there as well. The good news for Captain is, for whatever reason, the artillery does not seem to be interested in shooting him. I'm assuming they're trying to shoot the type T-34 who's sitting on that ramp over there, or maybe the KV-2 who's behind Captain. But it's a very good thing they're not irritating him right now. This AT2 takes a long time. He switches to gold, starting to look for the weak spots there, finally getting some shots into that front hole. Pretty soon this guy decides that sitting out in the open is not the best idea, and he's thinking, well, I need to get out of here. That's no good, but we get him tracked, and now he's sideways and down he goes. And we got another shot of opportunity as the 2640 tries to get away. Watch that gunnery. You need to be leading that guy a little bit more. You're kind of pointing right at him and shooting. So those are some critical misses right there. You could have used some of those shots. I think that one actually goes into him. When you analyze a loss such as this one, you've got to go, especially when it's kind of close for a while and then it starts to get away from you, you really got to look at your opportunities earlier to take shots. Okay, so Captain decides to leave the guys down here and go back to Cap, which is not a bad decision. But we're splitting up our forces here, and it may have been wiser to try to peel that 3485M off that corner so that you didn't have your 6 o'clock vulnerable. However, you do have your KV-2 back there trying to hold him. Unfortunately, we'll watch what happens. So we're going to come back up here, go back to the Cap, which I don't think is a bad decision. Now we've got pretty good view of the Cap. We got good armor forward, so this is a good hold down spot. And the 3J comes raging in. Again, gunnery, you got to give a little lead fire. You can't point right at him. That one was better. Little lead fire. There you go. So that's a lot better. And we've got a Luke's coming up on our right. There he is. M44, and there's a Covenator. Your T-34 comes back to help you, and down goes your KV-2. So at this point, you're fighting in two directions. Other than the T-82 HMC is kind of the canary in the coal mine back there. He's not going to do much. If you get lucky, you might shotgun somebody. But now we're dealing with this Luke's. Bounce him. That one goes in, and you can see he's having a hard time with your armor. T-34 decides to go back to see if he can't hold them off behind you, but he's going to have a tough time against a Crusader and a 3485M. Down goes the 82. And the Covenator's coming up, which you're really fixated on this Luke's, and we got this guy out in the open moving around. So right there was an opportunity to take a few hit points off the Covenator, if not kill him. Just ignore the Luke's. He may even get a couple shots into you, that's fine. But you got a guy out in the open you can start dealing with. The other thing you need to start worrying about is what's going on behind you. You've got a one-shot T-34. He won't last long against those guys, more than likely. Get another shot on him. And still the Covenator is coming at us. And I think you probably could have machine gunned down the Covenator because this becomes a problem really quickly. Right about here, if you'd have noticed this guy was coming in, I would have backed off this hill. So I'm no longer giving side shots to the Lukes or anything else that may be up here. Backed off this hill, closed in your defense a little bit, because you're going to have to be dealing with those guys and these guys. And you want one side or the other to go away. The other option would be just to have pushed at the Covenator and kill him, and then spin around and go after the Lukes. That's going to expose you to artillery a little bit, but you have no good options right here. You need to clear out one flank, either this one or this one. This one's harder because you're going to back up, and these guys will eventually come over top and start shooting you in the back. So the best option was to get rid of these guys above you and isolate the direction of the threat. And right now you're going to get a threat from two directions. Remember to turn your hull and your... There you go. Turn your hull and your turret, but don't back up or go forward. And now you start to see the fact that, oh man, I need to turn around. And unfortunately, now you're tracked. And actually, it looks like you've got a kit. I'd have fixed... Yeah, that's interesting. So you did have a kit. I would have fixed that right off the bat. As soon as I got tracked, I would have fixed it and just driven forward and isolate the threat from these guys. Let him circle you. Just drive forward, deal with the Lukes, and then turn around, and you'll have a little bit of a hold down action and put your front armor to those guys. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really sure. There may be a replay problem there. Your kit may not have been available. So, but just take a look at that. If you could have fixed it, I would have definitely fixed it and just driven forward, dealt with the Lukes. There's that bug where the tracks come off the last guy that shot you. So there you go. Not a bad effort right there. 1,700 damage, 5 kills. Just a little bit misplayed at the end. It was going to be hard to win, but be quite honest, you were fairly close to doing it. It's one of those things where you get in a situation like that, and the very good players understand that I can't just let it happen to me. There's a point, even though I'm losing, where I have to take the initiative and go in the best direction, even if that direction isn't great. Pick one or the other. Going south, going down the ramp, I thought was the worst idea of the two bad ideas. Going forward and dealing with the Lukes and the Covenator was probably the best idea of the various ideas. And then you could have isolated one threat, turn around and take on the other threat. And I really think that T-67 may have still been camping. That's the only other thing that was out there. And then the two artillery. So you've basically got most of the tanks there. In fact, all of the tanks are lit right there. T-67 was a while ago, but at least you kind of know he's probably sitting back there, and you may have actually been able to pull this one out. But otherwise, as it is, as it stands, nice job. Thanks for sending it in there, Captain Obvious. I hope that helped. Bottom line of all that is, yeah, you got in a bad situation, but at some point you've got to try to make at least a part of it a good situation, right? So one step at a time, go in the best direction, make that decision, make it a positive move, and then if you live, move on to the next one. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support as always, and we will see you.